I'm giving you some very important tips on starting a GLP-1 weight loss journey. We'll discuss side effects, how to naturally avoid them, what your doctor probably didn't tell you about nutrition on a GLP-1, and how much weight loss to expect, and of course, nutrition. If you're new here, my name's Gina. I am a qualified nutritionist, and my job is to help you to have the smoothest weight loss journey whilst you're taking a GLP-1. We want it to be effective and we want it to be safe. If you haven't yet subscribe to this playlist because I'm going to do a deep dive series step by step through starting a GLP-1 and getting the best results. If you're watching on a TV, I'm going to pop a QR code on the screen so that you can just scan that with your phone and that'll take you directly to my channel so you can subscribe so you don't miss out. All right, let's dive in. These are all questions that I have received from other people when they're starting their GLP-1. So I'll just go through the questions and give you all the answers. So the first question, my doctor didn't tell me what to eat. All right, let's cover this off. In my opinion, the best way to approach your nutrition on a GLP-1 is to eat so that you can naturally increase your own GLP-1 hormones. I'm going to talk a lot more about that later on in this video. But if you do it this way, you will save a lot of money because it will save you from titrating up more often. You'll be able to stay on lower doses, and that means a lot more money in your pocket. It'll also reduce the risk of side effects because it's the drug that gives us the side effects, not our own natural GLP-1 and hunger hormones. These are called incretin hormones, by the way. Now, of course, you need to discuss your doses with your doctor. You need a doctor to work very closely with you throughout your journey. You can't just go going up and going down willy-nilly. Most people, when they first start, feel like they can't eat much at all. So what your job is in the very early stages is to make sure that every single thing you're putting in your mouth is the best quality nutrition. Because you need to understand, food is the foundation of good health. And we also want to think of our weight loss journey on a GLP-1 as a long-term thing. I'm not saying you're going to be on the GLP-1 long-term. That's different for everyone. What I'm saying is if you use this miracle drug as a tool rather than a cure, then you will be able to eventually come off the GLP-1 and still maintain your weight. And you probably won't have to titrate up as often either. So going back to what you need to eat, you really need to focus on a high fiber diet and, most importantly, a high protein diet. That's because protein is the only macronutrient that we do not store. Every bit of protein we eat, we use. Whereas carbohydrates, we do store them in our muscles and our liver. And if those storage tanks are full, it gets turned into fat. And we also do store fat. Obviously, that's why we're here, right? So protein, most important thing. And when you're looking for protein sources that are good quality, if you eat meat, animal products are the best quality protein. So you need to basically set your plate full of animal proteins and vegetables. And it doesn't really matter what vegetables. However, salad vegetables are probably better because they are much, much lower in carbohydrates. We're going to talk a lot more about diet towards the end of this video. If you haven't yet started, I do actually have a video on how to inject with a quick pen plus also with just a normal needle that will show you how to do it in a pain-free way. And I also go through the safety implications in that video as well. Also, to get you started on the diet front, all the stuff your doctor probably didn't tell you because you would not believe how often I hear, my doctor gave me the prescription but didn't tell me anything. So I have made a free GLP-1 checklist, but it's actually an ebook. I got a little bit carried away. So that is a free download if you want it. I'll put the QR code here in case you're watching on TV. That'll take you directly to my website where you can get your download. That will help you to start on the best possible diet for a GLP-1. And then if you're interested in going a little bit deeper, I also have a paid ebook bundle that has menu plans. It's got a comprehensive nutrition plan in there that ensures that you're getting all of the nutrients you need because micronutrients literally run our body, so we can't go without them. But anyway, you can check that out on the website. So next question, These all tie in together. It's actually 3 questions in one, which I'm going to address all together. So they are, what side effects to expect? How will I feel? And does a GLP-1 work the same for everyone? Okay, the answer to this is no, it doesn't work the same for everyone. Some people have a lot of side effects. Some people have barely any. It really depends on the dose that you start on. So me personally, I started on a half dose of Mounjaro and I never had any real side effects. Other people get terrible side effects. It just depends on your body and your individual situation. How will you feel is also very varied depending on where you're at in your journey, your health history, if you're on other medications. Obviously medications all sort of interact in one way or another, so that would have a lot to do with it. It really depends on you and your body and your situation. I will say this though, if you're getting side effects that are absolutely out of control, like if you're vomiting every day, if you are extremely constipated, they really need to be addressed by your doctor, and don't leave them, because vomiting and diarrhea will cause dehydration very, very quickly, and that can become quite dangerous. So let's go into side effects and the main side effects that you need to manage from day one. This is really important. So constipation, diarrhea, nausea, dizziness, and weakness. Okay, so these are the cluster. Let's talk about electrolytes first, because that is the one that you will probably feel first if you've just started. So you need to take electrolytes. I actually have a video where I show you how you can make your own electrolytes at home. And that video also has a recipe in there to get lots of micronutrients and fiber with a cracker recipe. So that can help you from the very beginning. So electrolytes directly relates to dehydration, but it actually goes a lot deeper than that. So our electrolytes are things like potassium, sodium, chloride, magnesium. Now, what you need to understand is sodium and potassium work inside the cells called a sodium-potassium pump. And what this pump does is it literally creates the electricity for you to be able to move your muscles, for you to think, for your heart to beat. All of these reactions literally rely on your sodium-potassium pump. So when you're taking electrolytes, you're ensuring that you have enough sodium and potassium. So the next biggest one is constipation. And I have seen online over and over and over again that people are using laxatives on a daily basis to relieve the constipation that is coming from the medication. Here's the thing, that is not the answer. It will destroy your gut and it will destroy your microbiome over the long term. It makes no sense to take a medication to fix one thing and then cause other health issues down the road. So instead of taking a laxative every day, what we need to do is focus on getting enough fiber, because that's the number one thing. The other thing that causes constipation is lack of gut movement. We call this motility. So there's not much we can do about this because the GLP-1 is literally slowing down our motility, right? But if we get enough fiber, and it's the right type of fiber, we can greatly reduce the amount of constipation that we get. So things that can help constipation is get your electrolytes, because that's fluid. You need fluid. And get enough fiber. So what's enough fiber? You need at least 30 grams of fiber per day. And I would say even more is better. But test it on your own body. If you've gone years without getting a lot of fiber and then you suddenly increase with tons of fiber, your body's not going to like that. Just go slowly when it comes to fiber, but focus on eating your salad vegetables, high fiber foods. And if you're still not eating enough to get enough fiber, you can then start to supplement with something like psyllium husk, or a natural type of fiber that will actually nurture your gut and your microbiome rather than destroying it. I actually have a video that is all about psyllium husk and being constipated on a GLP-1. I will pop that in the description for you so you can watch that later. That goes a lot more in depth about the microbiome and about how much psyllium to take. And I actually do a little demonstration where I show you what you're in for. All right, let's talk about nausea, the next big one. Thankfully, I never experienced this, but a lot of people do, and they complain about it. And what a horrible way to live, right? So there is actually a very, very simple food that you can eat that will greatly reduce nausea feelings, and that is ginger. Let's talk about ginger. So if you're going to eat the actual food, which I would recommend, You can make it into a tea. Obviously peel it, and then you can steep it in very hot water. You can crush it up into tiny, tiny little bits, which is probably the best way to do it because then you're getting the whole food. And there's a lot of other nutrients in the whole food too. So if you're having fresh ginger, you need to have 1 to 2 grams of ginger in order to reduce nausea. And you can do that every day. Like, there's no harm in taking a food in order to get the benefits. Just check if you're on medications that there's no interactions with ginger. If you're going to take a supplement, you need to take 250 to 500 milligrams in supplement form, and that needs to be the actual active ingredient of the supplement. So what it does is quite interesting. It actually affects the serotonin receptors in our gut. And a lot of people don't know this, but serotonin creates joy and happiness within our brain, right? But actually, most of the serotonin we have, like 90% of it, is located in our gut. So, and that just comes back to the gut-brain axis. Our gut and our brain is constantly in communication. So, ginger is interacting with our serotonin in our gut to reduce those nausea feelings. And you never know, there's no evidence on this, but taking ginger might also decrease depression or those low feelings, only because if you're increasing or stimulating the serotonin in your gut, it may actually have an effect on the brain serotonin as well. If you've ever been on an antidepressant, which is an SSRI, you would have noticed that you got a little bit of diarrhea from that. That is because it's stimulating your serotonin. And if you're taking ginger as either a supplement or the fresh ginger, which I would recommend, the fresh ginger, it will probably take maybe 30 minutes to an hour to work. So next question, how much should I lose in the first week? Well, here's the thing. Everyone's so different. Some people actually lose quite a lot of weight in the first week. Most of that would be water weight from our glycogen stores. So we store glycogen, which is the body's form of sugar, in our muscles and our liver. When we greatly reduce the amount that we're eating, obviously we're reducing the amount of carbohydrates coming into our system, right? That means our body needs to start using glycogen to keep our blood sugars stable. So once glycogen is depleted, we actually lose a lot of water weight because for every pound of glycogen, we carry 3 pounds of water. So in the first week, you will probably drop quite a bit of weight in water weight. And then other people don't drop much at all. And I would say that this varies based on how much glycogen you're carrying in the first place, how much your appetite's been decreased, and how much food you're eating in the first week. If you're eating like a bird, obviously you're going to drop quite a lot of water weight and probably a little bit of fat as well. But I don't recommend eating like a bird. You still need all of your nutrients to keep everything in our body running. So here's what I want to say about weight loss and how quickly people are losing weight. Trust me, if you have seen any of my other videos and my history with weight and the reason I became a nutritionist, I get that you want to lose weight fast. I totally get it. However, the faster you lose weight, likely the faster you're going to put it back on, the faster you'll destroy your metabolism, which will mean that you will put the weight back on. And the faster you lose weight, the more likely you are to end up with nutritional deficiencies because you can't lose weight very, very quickly and be getting all of the nutrients you need to stay healthy. So these things are very important. The point that I want to make here is we need to think about the long term. This is a tool that we're going to use to help us in the initial stages so that we can change our lifestyle and later on, we don't have to come back and keep losing weight again. You want longevity from what you're doing now. So I would say focus on losing 1 to 2 pounds per week. That is 1/2 to 1 kilo per week. If you're losing weight at that rate, your metabolism will be stable. You're not losing your muscle mass. You're still burning plenty of fat and you're able to get all of the nutrients you need. And I know for some people that is a long journey and we do get impatient. I get that. But you need to remember this is forever. You want this to be a forever journey. The last time I lost weight, I kept it off for 15 years. And I'm so grateful that I approached it in a way that I was doing this forever. It wasn't just get the weight off as fast as possible, because anyone that does that, I've seen it time and time again, they gain it back just as quickly. And we don't want that for you. So lifestyle habits to start to implement from day one, okay? If you're starting at a very beginner fitness level, just start walking. Any sort of movement is great. Move around as much as you can. This will help to maintain your muscle mass and it will rev up your metabolism. If you're already quite fit, just add a little bit more exercise. The more you can do and incorporate into your day, the easier it will be to maintain your metabolism long term. It also helps our body to take up nutrients because the more we do, all those little signals within our system send a signal, hey, I need more calcium or I need more potassium. So your body will actually absorb more nutrients the more you're making it do. Now, that doesn't mean to go crazy. You don't want to go from doing nothing at all to lifting 100 pounds of weight and doing 600 squats a day, because all that's going to do is it's going to make you very sore and you won't want to ever do it again. So just be sensible, start slow, and as you move along your journey, just slowly increase what you're doing. As long as your intensity is getting harder, that doesn't mean jumping around. It means as long as you feel challenged, then you know that you'll be building your metabolism over time. If you are on a GLP-1, especially for blood sugar control, this little tip is the best thing I can give you in this video. Get up and go for a walk straight after your meals. Give it 5 minutes to digest, but as soon as you can, get up and go for a walk. If you can do that, your muscles will actually soak up the blood sugar and it will help to regulate your blood sugars. And that way you may not have to go up in dose. And over time, as you're losing weight, you may even be able to get your doctor to bring your medications down. Because if you're regulating your blood sugars yourself, you may not need as much medication. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And here's another little tip for you. However you set up your day, you need to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, it will not last. So make sure that you're doing some activity that you enjoy. Make sure that you are having meals that you really enjoy. Try not to make that takeaway and donuts and stuff like that. We need to move away from those foods and think about food as nourishment and longevity and health. But if you're enjoying what you're doing on a daily basis, you will make this last long term. But also, try not to weigh yourself too often. What we need to focus on is what we're doing every day to make this a long-lasting journey for ourselves so that we're not regaining weight later. And if you're just focused on the weight, it's actually not very telling about what's going on within your body. Yes, you can weigh less, but here's the thing. When you weigh yourself, you're weighing all the water in your body. That's not fat. You're weighing your gut contents, which if you're constipated, you could be weighed down by 5 or 6 pounds. That's not fat. What we're after is fat loss. So I would suggest when you have your injection each week, weigh yourself on the same day and forget about it. You're weighing yourself really for one reason, and that is to assess if you're in a plateau or not, because at some point you will reach a weight plateau, and I'm going to discuss that later on in this series. And the best way to figure out if you're in a plateau is by measuring your weight. But you know what? Focusing solely and wholly on weight, weighing yourself every day, it's not healthy. For many people, it messes with our mind too much. It moves you away from the big picture and puts you in a diet mentality, which is not healthy long term. The whole reason we're doing this is to get away from the diet mentality. So think about that for yourself, and hopefully you will agree with me and start just weighing once a week. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about nutrition. What do I eat? Focus on protein and veggies. Have a meal, don't snack. The further you move away from processed food, the better. If you don't understand really what a processed food is, because you'd be surprised how many people don't really know what that means, processed food is anything that is changed from the way that we see it in nature. So, for example, we see wheat growing in nature, but we would never pick wheat and eat it the way that it grows, right? And then you've got the offshoots of wheat. So you've got bread is a processed food because we don't see bread trees. We don't see pasta trees. Jerky is a processed food. We don't see jerky walking around. We see cows, assuming that's what it comes from. I don't actually eat jerky, but you get the idea. So if you're living on chicken, beef, fish, eggs, all those sorts of things, and then you're just eating your whole fruits and vegetables, and also include nuts and seeds into this mix, because nuts and seeds are actually so rich in nutrients and they will keep your blood sugar is very stable, and they're also extremely filling, and they're full of fiber. So that's where you should be focusing your diet. You need to be focusing on getting electrolytes every single day. And if you're going to watch my side effects video, in there, I've got the recipe for electrolytes and collagen water, which will help to bump up your protein, but also to keep your skin nice and healthy as well while you lose weight. So watch that video after this one. The next question I got was, do I need high protein or low carb? And I would say for the general population, the answer to that is a yes. High protein on a GLP-1 is very important because we have reduced the amount of food that we're eating. So we do need to bump up our protein. And I do recommend staying away from, like I just said, processed carbohydrates. If we're eating a lot of carbohydrates, we're actually working directly against what the GLP-1 is trying to do for our body. If you're still drinking sugary soda, soft drinks, cordials, things like that, that should be the first thing to get out of your diet as of right now. If you find the thought of that hard, this is what I would suggest. Start drinking water, switch to sugar-free, and put that in the water. At least that way you're getting water, you're getting the taste that your brain is craving, but you're reducing the amount that it's going to affect your blood sugars. So you want to cut all junk food as early as possible. Now, here's the thing, right? Because you're starting a GLP-1, it will actually be much easier to control food noise and cravings. Use this time and this tool to change the way we see junk food. Now, you know what? I used to be an absolute junk food addict. I understand completely what that is like. Watch my food noise video because I actually talk a lot about my history and how I was addicted to food and junk food specifically, because nobody's addicted to like cashew nuts, right? Maybe you are and you're lucky. But if we're addicted to food, it is likely we are addicted to junk food that does not serve us. And that certainly drove my weight issue. So what I'm saying is, whilst you're in the early stages of your GLP-1, because it makes it so easy, start building your habits now and cut all junk because you won't want it. And that's the miracle of this tool. But remember, it is a tool. It's not something that we want to take forever, unless, of course, that's what your doctor has told you. But I would even revisit that in a year if I were you. In terms of protein, I have found a fantastic protein supplement, but it's actually more than a protein supplement. It is a complete meal in a shake. It is quite high in protein. It is the only one that I recommend, apart from just plain old collagen, for GLP-1 users. And that's because it has 100% of our daily micronutrient needs. It's low carb, it's high fiber, it's got everything we need. So that's why I recommend it, and I take it myself. I'll pop the image on the screen here for you. If you feel like you need something to increase your protein intake and also increase your micronutrient intake, this is probably one of the best things that you can get. Also, you could consider taking just a normal multivitamin and mineral. Get some vitamin C. You want 500 milligrams to 1 gram a day. And also fish oils I always recommend because there's so many benefits. If you're taking fish oils and you're on other medications, you do need to check because high dose fish oils will interact with some medications, but check anyway with your doctor just so that you can be sure. All right. And while we wait for the next video in our series, start watching these videos. I'll pop them up here for you. Don't forget to go and get your checklist, your free download, because that will greatly help you starting this journey. And in the next video, we're going to talk about exactly what to eat and how to structure a winning weight loss eating plan. So we touched on it today. The next video, we're going to go a lot deeper. I'll also put the link for the collagen that I get in the description. If you don't use that link, what you're looking for is plain, unflavored, unsweetened bovine collagen. But if you go and watch my side effects video, I'll actually show you how to make that taste really nice. All right, so I will see you in one of these two videos next.
Smarternuthub Nutrition, GLP done well.